You're listening to The Mike Smith Show.
The following is a presentation of unidentified entertainment and 22nd century radio. Manassas, Fairfax, Washington, D.C.
Exopolitics and ufology, religion and science, time and space. Hosted by Mike Smith.
He's a moron.
You are listening to The Mike Smith Show.
Ever gazed upon the green flash, Master Gibbs? I reckon I've seen my fair share. Happens on rare occasion. The last glimpse of sunset, a green flash shoots up into the sky. Some go their whole lives without ever seeing it. Some claim to have seen it who ain't. And some say...
It signals when a soul comes back to this world from the dead. Sorry.
But now I know I'm recording on this, and I'm just going to say, even though I may or may not edit this in, I'm going to apologize to my friends Tracy and Brett, who sat there and played Fungo with me for an hour and a half, sitting in their house, all fired up about the radio show, and I tried to listen to it on my ride home, and immediately realized I didn't record a damn thing. Golly, that is frustrating. Okay, well,
now you know.
Yeah, now I know, so I'll keep working on it. That's fine. That is frustrating now.
And you know about your app, so...
Ay. Alright, well, first of all, cheers.
Here's to you.
I appreciate it.
Here's to you, here's to me. If we should ever disagree, fuck you, here's to me.
Well said. Excellent. Alright, well, I'll roll right into it and not worry about the questions for just a minute, because I had a couple of others I can throw at you. I'll go ahead and just say welcome back. This is Mike Smith again. You're listening to the Time and Space Radio Show. I'm back with guest co-host Sly.
Hello.
And we're here in Asuncion, Paraguay.
Oh, excuse me. Hola.
Hola. Que paso? That's right. I'm afraid I don't know any Guarani, but I probably should have learned some while I was down here. Either way, appreciate you listening. Visit timeandspace.us, and I'll go into a quick thing about the app that we just discovered. Some of you who may be hearing this probably got redirected to somebody named Yoshi's page.
Great jazz site, by the way.
Is it really? I mean, do you know who you...
I don't know.
We don't know Yoshi from the hole in the wall. However, Yoshi probably owes us a debt of gratitude for pushing so many people towards him, because I know from looking at the site that there have been people trying to download the app, and apparently that hasn't been working. So that's very unfortunate. I'm going to give out the URL right now and try to correct this problem before the next recording. You want to go to wbxapp.com/timeandspaceus. There is no dot there. The app will come up. You want to add it to your home page. You can figure out the link using a smartphone. We won't go into the smartphone conspiracy theory that we were just discussing, but clearly this has been a problem, so if you tried to get the app, couldn't get it, found Yoshi's page and have no idea why, please go back and correct the URL, and we will try to update what we have on the home page. That's a little embarrassing, but I guess it's growing pains, and we appreciate the support. Anybody who finds the app, please load it, vote, and interact with us, and we look forward to hearing from you. Among things on the app, you'll find something called the Prize Finder. The Prize Finder points you to some place. Typically, at this point, it's going to be in Northern Virginia or the D.C. area where we're based. You can visit the Soccer Post in Chantilly, Virginia. They are sitting on top of a prize right now, waiting for a listener to come through, and I guess I just figure out why nobody had gone there yet and located the prize. So.
Because Yoshi doesn't have the prize.
That's right, because Yoshi... Or maybe Yoshi will be the first one to win the game. I have no idea. But we'll change it up after a couple of people find their way into the Soccer Post. Please support them. Also find us on Facebook, Time and Space Radio Show. Please click the like button. We've been building up a lot of those, and thank you to everybody around the world that has been finding our page and interacting with it and looking at some of the crazy articles that we post. So anyway, we are back. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Frank. That was, to say the least, very interesting. And honestly, I'm not sure, Fly, I just wanted to give you a quick opportunity here if you had any sort of follow-up on that interview, because it sort of captured my imagination, and I was happy that not only Frank was so open about it, but honestly, the description of the sighting right there at the beginning knocked me for a bit of a loop.
Well, that and the talking about the green flash and the experiences that both Frank and I have had with that, and it just goes to show you, people that you meet along the street that you would never in a billion years think that you would have any type of knowledge about this subject, and people do. People have their own opinions, people have their own ideas, either they be right or wrong, and it's just really refreshing to know that there are still those of us out there that do believe.
Now, one interesting thing, and we had what I'll refer to as a small audience for this, but we had our friend Val sitting out here who was listening, and she said later that she wanted to chime in but didn't. But in the sort of post-recording discussion, she was also offering up a little bit of experience, and I wasn't sure what to make of what she had to say, but that has been the pattern that we have found. Again, you find people on their own, they offer up things that you wouldn't expect them to offer up, and a lot of them, yes, they'll say they believe in, this stuff and that they have all these opinions, but you get them into the groupthink mode, and when I brought that up the other day, you were quick to jump at that as well.
Well, and it's kind of the stigma that you put on this. You talk about extraterrestrials and aliens and UFOs, and people automatically shut up, especially in large groups. Because you come off as a nut, you come off as a basket case. I don't believe in any of that crap. But when you get them one-on-one, that's when people really start to come out. Or when you have a group of people, like such with your site, where a group of people are kind of in agreement, and you're able to express that.
Right. I wonder sometimes when I post some of these stories, if there aren't a few likes, and then the interaction becomes limited because there's people who say, well, there's 3 or 4 people that liked it, and I'll go click it and read the link and read the article, but, I'm not sure what to make of it, and they're almost literally interpreting like I approve of the story, as opposed to just I was interested in reading it.
Right.
And
exactly.
You wonder how much of that spin happens as people see these articles and read these stories.
Well, and people are starting to relax. And with all of this new information that's coming out, it's now becoming mainstream.
Yeah.
It's now becoming
right.
avant-garde. Everybody's had a sighting. Everybody's done something. Now, whether right or wrong or true or false, but now it is now starting to become the mainstream thing, and people are actually starting to relax about it.
Now, let me throw a couple interesting spins for you. What we're doing is another follow-up segment here. I was going to put Fly, on the rotisserie here and get him to go through the 2 rounds of Fungo SA, as I'm calling it now, the South American twisted version where we've reorganized a couple of questions and
Fungo SA.
Yeah, Fungo, because I've seen that abbreviation, all over the place. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna put the screws to Fly here and see if I can't get him to go through the 2 rounds, and we'll joke about that in a few minutes. But I gotta say, since I have the opportunity, I want to revisit a couple of things real quick. First of all, the one that I can't, help but bring up again, if you could just expand on it a little bit, was our brief discussion during the interview with Frank about the Chinese airport closures.
Right.
If we could revisit that just for a second.
Absolutely.
I was very surprised to hear you say, first of all, that you were seeing the report on CNN and it got shut down in the middle of, their news story.
And the way it all happened, they started to broadcast it, and then all of a sudden, the broadcast just ended.
Now, without asking you to recreate the broadcast, I mean, what were they doing? They're hitting it like a regular news story, like, okay, something shut down the airport?
Well, it was kind of one of those, kind of like the filler pieces that the news agencies put in there.
Right.
And it started out with UFO sightings above Airport X in China.
I went right to it.
And then...
And I'm sorry to clarify, this was Shenyang? Where was this? No, it wasn't.
Well, I don't remember what the airport was. Okay. I was in Shanghai at the time.
Shanghai, I'm sorry. Yes.
And okay. I don't remember where the airport was. Yeah. But they started in with the
look
story
it up yourself.
And started the lead in, and then all of a sudden, right as the reporter is talking, it goes to black. And then that's it. So 15, 20 minutes later, then everything comes back on, and it's like, well,
oh my gosh.
Well, what the hell happened?
15 to 20 minutes?
Yeah.
You mean to tell me you're watching the TV, it just goes black and it just stays black?
It went black. So I thought, well, maybe that something happened to the cable. So I switched to another channel.
Yeah, something happened to the cable.
I switched to another channel, and the other channels are fine. There's movies on, there's Chinese shows on, BBC America's on, the local Chinese news is on, but you go to CNN and there's nothing there.
How about that? And then, not asking you to speak for other people, but you said that a couple of the other people that we were on this trip with that...
Right, Johnny and Mike, we were talking about it up in the lounge when I went up to the lounge to have a couple drinks that night. You know, I said, well, I was watching this stuff, and then, hey, guys, did you hear about the UFOs that they saw in China? I said, well, no, we didn't hear anything about any of that. And I said, well, it was on CNN, but as it was going on, and then Mike spoke up, and he says, yeah, and then it stopped. The broadcast stopped. So it was there. It happened. Now, I really didn't find out the full story of what was going on until I got back into the U.S.
Right.
Because even with Yahoo and Google in China, there wasn't any of that news
and they're
on
blocking,
there.
Right. And they'll just tear those stories right out of the news feed.
Right,
if that's
and
what
it
they feel
wasn't
they have
even,
to do.
you couldn't even find it. You couldn't even look for it.
Now, again, you'd have to, if you're listening to this and you want to go back and look up the stories themselves, that's, you can find more detail than what we're going to be able to discuss here. But my understanding was this was a major, stop all flights, air traffic control tower has no idea what's going on, airport shuts down.
Yeah, this object was hovering over the airport.
Right, buzzing the airport, whatever it was. I don't remember.
And they had to shut down air traffic because they were feared for the passengers' lives because they thought these airliners were going to run into this.
Sure. And that's somewhat typical of some of the stuff you find. But, that's pretty amazing.
The description of the craft, the description of what was going on, even in the U.S., you didn't have a lot of information.
Right.
There was just an incident at a Chinese airport. An unidentified aircraft was buzzing the airport, and they had to shut the airport down because of the safety of the passengers.
Right. That's pretty unbelievable.
So any of you guys out there that have video...
Yeah, certainly. Feel free to share it and post it either on the Facebook page or the home page, or send it to us, email it to us.
Even you Robot Chicken fans. Let's get those in.
The email address that we use is timeandspace@live.com. Again, you can post it on the Facebook page or any of that. I won't keep beating you up with the links, but it'd be interesting to hear from anybody that has any information about that. That really struck me, and I was caught by that when you brought that up. The other thing is that we have a couple of, and I'm going to kind of tip my hand on the major announcements here. We have a couple of live shows that we've been talking about doing, recording to be really nice concrete demos. Brain Fang's willing to play live and come down and do some of that with us, so hopefully we're going to do it. And Fly here says that if he's in the area, he's going to come in and join us on the show, so certainly thank you for offering that. And
do you have dates yet?
Love to have you. We don't, but I am literally hours, if not days, away from finding out. I have my contacts. I've been in touch with them many times, and they are currently negotiating. We have a really great site in Warrenton, Virginia that we're hoping to hit, and a nice outdoor setup here. It would just be something great. So we'll give you more information as we find out more about that. Also, I just want to make the quick joke that if you're hearing any ambient noise in the background, some of it is music from overhead. The hotel here, Las Lomas Casa Hotel in Asuncion. Please feel free to visit laslomascasahotel.com. You can find them on Facebook also. Also, if you find a sudden urge to head to the bathroom, it's because there's a waterfall in the background, and they've got that going next to the pool here. So if you're hearing running water and don't know where it's coming from, that's what it is. I got a kick out of both things. I will refrain from making any further comments about ambient noise, but I at least got a big laugh out of that. So let's go ahead and just jump to fungo and start getting some of that out of the way. As some of you who may have heard this in the past know, we've got sets of 10 questions. We've reorganized our previous versions into 2 shorter versions, and I have advised Fly that nobody has actually run the table 10 for 10, and in discussions with him the other night, I gave him sample questions, so we're already going -1 on both sets.
Boo.
You do get a +1 on one of the sets because you answered one of those questions right. But we'll go ahead and go through the rest of them just for kicks. We'll even revisit the ones that we had already done.
This is rigged.
And I will chime in with my normal commentary and see what happens here. So let's have fun with it. We're going to visit Fungo. I will say there are several other people that I'm hoping to peg before the weekend is over and get a couple more rounds of this in. We will also stop beating you up with this game as listeners because we have several other great games that we haven't gotten to yet. We're going to visit all of those during the live show, and hopefully you'll be very entertained by some of those. You can visit the website to see what some of them are. Again, it's timeandspace.us. We're here with Fly. We're in Asuncion, Paraguay, and we're going to play Fungo S.A. This is Fungo S.A. Part 1. We're going to go through the round of 10 questions. I will ask each question 2 times to make sure I've repeated it so everyone hears it correctly, and then give you an opportunity to answer. These are definitive answers, and if I'm explaining while you're thinking, you'll get used to the pattern and see where we go with it. Question number 1 of Part 1, Fungo S.A. on Time and Space Radio Show. Fly.
Yes?
Can you name one country that is located on the equator?
Ecuador.
Most common answer given. The first couple times we played it, we didn't actually think of that as an answer. We knew that there was a list, but hadn't bothered to really reference it and check it out. And the first person that blasted it out, I got to admit, we got a big kick out of that. So score 1, yes, Ecuador.
Do I get extra point?
I've been through.
So I can make up.
I have been through the rest of the list, and we'll rattle it off real quick in case you're curious.
So there's Brazil.
There is also Brazil. Can you name any others?
Somalia.
That's correct. Very good.
There is. What's on the other side of Somalia? We
are working on question number 1. Fly has already gotten it correct. Name one country located on the equator. You've given us 3. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 others.
6. Good Lord.
Fly is an experienced world traveler and probably should be able to come up with several of these, so it shouldn't be much of a surprise if he's able to name any others. In the interest of time, I'm willing to just rattle them off if you want. Colombia.
Yep.
Gabon.
Ooh.
There are actually 2 versions of Congo.
Congo, yep.
So I guess that counts for more than what I said. Uganda, Kenya.
That was it.
And Indonesia are all correct answers for name one country.
Kenya's a great place to visit, by the way.
Okay,
lovely hotel.
Somehow, I think you're being sarcastic.
No.
Really?
No, oh, yeah.
Is it really a nice place?
It was great.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was deployed to Somalia, we got a little R&R trip to Kenya.
All right. Very good.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind if I ever get sent there.
Absolutely.
Question number 2. What nation are the Giza pyramids located in?
What nation?
What nation?
That would be Egypt.
That would be Egypt. Correct. We'll move to question 3, which I asked the other night in trying to give Fly samples. That question was, what does the abbreviation AM stand for?
Right, and I did not know the answer to that.
You got awfully close.
Didn't know the answer to it, but now I do know.
To revisit, one of them is for time, AM or PM, in places that is actually used. The other is AM or FM for radio. The answers are anti-meridian in terms of time, and amplitude modulation in terms of radio. We'll move to question number 4. What is the host city for the 2012 Olympic Summer Games?
Well, that is very difficult, Mike, since I lived there for 6 years, and that would be London.
Wow, that would be London. If you go 9 out of 10 here, I'm going to be really disappointed because I hit you with that one question the other night that blew up this list, because I wouldn't be surprised if you ripped through the rest of this and got it right. That's right. The 2012 Olympic Summer Games will be played in London. Question number 5. Tenzin Gyatso, also known as the 14th Dalai Lama, is considered the leader of which religion? Tenzin Gyatso, also known as the 14th Dalai Lama,
and then we're talking Tibet,
is considered the leader
and we're talking
of what religion?
Oh, good Lord Almighty!
And I'm gonna say Tibet. You know, I gotta say that's one that, you know, not everybody is tracking so closely and spitting that out.
Tibet, Dalai Lama. Come on, what's the damn religion?
And while Fly is trying to come up with this, I'm going to go ahead and throw in that I saw a news story just a couple of months ago that the 14th Dalai Lama, Mr. Gyatso, Tenzin Gyatso, however he would be referred to, His Holiness, has actually publicly said he is willing to step down from the position because he feels it's become too political.
Political with China.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting,
And again, when I was in Beijing and before the Olympics, they were really having a lot of problems with Tibet.
Yeah.
Buddhism
is correct.
Good Lord.
Very well done. That's correct. Buddhism is the correct answer. For anyone who has never seen it, I highly recommend a film called Kundun, which is the story of the Dalai Lama and his exile from Tibet, from what I guess is now, you have to consider, China. That's a fascinating film. Check it out if you have a chance.
Yeah, the Chinese beat those guys down pretty bad.
They sure did, and still continue to do so.
Especially after that last insurrection that they had.
That's right.
That was really bad.
That's right. We'll move to question number 6 in what we'll call round 1, or part 1 of Fungo SA. You're listening to TimeAndSpace.us. I'm your host, Mike Smith. I'm here with co-guest host Fly. He is trying to find his way through Fungo. And question number 6, what language are the standard numerals 0 through 9 from? The numerals 0 through 9 originate from a specific language. What is the language? Please listen to the waterfall and the music in the background.
Listen to the waterfall and the music in the background, and Fly just going a total blank.
Now, I will say, this is another question that we came up with, which
Cyrillic?
We have found many people have stumbled on. What language are the standard numerals 0 through 9 from? Fly has offered the answer Cyrillic. You want to stick with that one?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that one.
The answer is Arabic.
There you go.
Arabic is where 0 through 9 came from, proving, of course, that our fearless President Obama is right. The entire U.S. culture, according to Frank.
And this is a family show, and I will not say anything.
That's right. And I wasn't trying to throw any bait in the water to take you down that path.
About the rag-headed camel jockeys.
That's correct.
So I'll be quiet. I'm sorry.
Question number 7. This one's going to be fish in a barrel for Fly. What country is the city of Jerusalem located in? I'll go ahead and put the check mark down before he answers this.
Let's go ahead and go with Israel.
Having visited Jerusalem, Israel is the correct answer. Question number 8. Hopefully this gets the big laugh I thought it might. It would be even better in front of a large crowd. What does the abbreviation BAC stand for? This was meant to be a speed bump and a wild card in some of the rounds that we did.
Well, Mike, I find that rather offensive. Considering that I've had a considerable amount of alcohol tonight.
Well, it's a good thing we didn't start drinking early. How about that?
Well, I find that very offensive.
We'll go ahead and check on question number 8.
That would have something to do with blood, alcohol, and content.
BAC.
I'm not mistaken.
You are correct.
Because there is a lot of alcohol in my system right now.
Very well done. Question number 9. In round 1 of Fungo SA, what country is the city of Mecca located in?
Well, and there's another tough one.
You'd be surprised.
Because you just never know where them rag-headed camel jockeys
oh, wow.
just happen to be just...
You're going to start hitting the beeps there.
That's right. That would be Saudi Arabia.
All right. I'd like to give, just very quickly, those of you who heard the earlier round of this where we first asked this question, best answer offered, which Mecca?
Well,
I got to give some credit.
Because there are so many of them out there.
I got to give credit to our friend Nakai in Harare, Zimbabwe, who offered up which Mecca.
And I do have to say that she was probably referring to the one in Northern Virginia. I believe it's in Fairfax.
Wow. All right, he's running the table except for the one I got him with the other night, so we're going to finish up round 1.
I hit the Arabic one. I shot that one.
I'm sorry, you're correct.
Yeah.
I checked it off as though I'd asked it.
No,
That's correct.
See,
Okay.
I'm honest, folks.
All
Honest.
right, yes, thank you very much. We'll go to question 10 and finish up round 1. What country is hosting the 2014 FIFA World Cup?
Oh, you got me on that one.
Question 10, again in Fungo Essay Part 1. What country is hosting the 2014 FIFA World Cup?
I have
now,
no idea.
since you've already missed 2 questions and it doesn't matter and you're certainly not going to run the table and break the record, I will say that earlier tonight at dinner I was actually discussing this with some of our friends, specifically about the stadiums that they're starting to build in a nearby country in this same region.
Yeah, I wasn't listening to that part.
It would
of the
be
conversation.
Brazil. Mighty Brazil will be hosting the 2014 FIFA World Cup.
Yeah, sorry.
So in round 1, Fly
American
ends up with a
football.
score
Woohoo! Pittsburgh Steelers.
7 out of 10.
Here we go, Steelers.
Boy.
Here we go.
I'll refrain from pursuing that.
And we won't talk about the Penguins.
Oh man,
Tampa Bay.
I knew
Tampa
that.
Bay. Capitals. Capitals.
Go Bruins. How about that? I'll jump on the bandwagon for my friends Tracy and Brett. And Matt Donovan. Matt, I didn't forget about you, buddy. Matt, my friend that works up in the mayor's office there in Boston. Wow.
All right, so round 2.
So let's move to round 2. Fungo, SA.
So I've missed 2.
Part 2. That's no, you missed 3 in that round. You missed 3 in that round.
Well, because I had the...
You had the AM one.
Yeah, we had to throw that one out.
Right.
Okay, so that's 3.
Right, we got you. Now, you did already in this second round. You got 1 right and 1 wrong, and we'll get to those in just a moment. Okay. Let's start with question number 1. In Fungo SA, Part 2, Time and Space, .us is our homepage. Please visit. Question 1. What is the name of the first book in the Bible?
Genesis.
Genesis is the correct answer. Question number 2. Now, this one shouldn't be too hard, so don't bust my balls if you think that there's terminology here, but you'd be an expert in this field, so it'd be interesting to hear you clarify on this question.
Are we talking alcohol again?
We were working, no, we're not, but this one's right in your wheelhouse, and this is the other wheelhouse, I guess I should say.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
Wow. Nope, not going there yet either.
We're on a roll tonight, folks.
I guess we're going to be coming up with another original set of questions later. That part won't be recorded for those of you who play in the future. Question number 2. In Fungo SA, Part 2, what is the altitude at MSL or mean sea level? This question has tripped several people up because they didn't even understand.
That's 0.
You are the man. How about that? The answer is 0.
Because that's sea level.
I have had to spell that out because the first response I usually get is, well, where? Because sea level is different in different places, which is a true point. That is actually correct.
Right, but
I'm asking about mean sea level.
Right, which is the common denominator across the board.
There you go.
That's your 0 reference point.
And I'll tell you what I can hear in the back of my head right now. Executive Chef Mike Fay arguing that, Fly, you are now overqualified to be playing this game because you understood it on the first reading of the question. And he was really proud of the fact that that was going to trip people up. So, okay, let's have some real fun here. The next 2 questions I had already asked Fly. One he got, one he did not get. I will go first with question 3, the one that he got. Please name the 4 planets closest to the Sun. Which, if I may say so from our earlier interview, I may have been able to trip up Frank on.
Yeah,
because he would have gotten it wrong.
With the belt.
The asteroid
so the
belt.
4.
Yes, the 4 planets closest to the Sun, or the 4 planets inside the asteroid belt.
Asteroid belt.
That's correct.
Asteroid belt. There again, VAC. So that would be Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars.
That's correct. And he names them in order. Excellent. As opposed to, should we revisit it?
Oh, absolutely.
I think we should.
Absolutely.
Ryan's original answer of the Sun, which immediately disqualified him, and then the Moon, which further disqualified him.
Keeping in mind, he had no BAC.
I don't even know what scale you would measure him on, but we don't want to beat him up too much. He'll go back and listen to this and probably promote himself using whatever material we offer.
I think that would be a stupidity aptitude scale.
Stupidity. Hold on a minute. We may have just come up with something.
So
the
SAS.
So
that would be the SAS.
The stupidity aptitude scale. Hopefully.
And ladies and gentlemen of the
eventually.
audience, if you could come up with that scale, it would be greatly appreciated if you could send
Please.
all of your scale requests to timeandspace.com.
US.us.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
Well, there again,
very good.
Part of the stupidity scale.
Rookie, this is your, first night on the show and all that type of thing. That's okay.
Okay, VAC.
Brilliant. And then we'll move to question 4, which, I mean, I think it wasn't an issue of not being able to come up with it as much as, wow, I just for some reason don't remember that. And I stick by my theory that it used to be called something else. Please name the Earth's 5 oceans. When I originally asked this, I got it wrong, but let's see if you can come up with it under tonight's circumstances.
Oh, dude,
just for fun.
VAC's kicking in right now.
Atlantic.
So we got the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic Ocean,
and the one that nobody seems to get.
And then you threw that damn Southern Ocean.
That's right. That's right.
So that would be the ocean around Antarctica. Is that
yes, it would. That's correct. That's correct. Which, ironically enough, from discussion that wasn't recorded earlier, but a discussion we were having with Frank when he was doing his little westerly direction, moving from Atlantic to Pacific.
I would have liked to have presented that one to Frank.
Yes, I would like to present that.
Especially as much time as he spent at sea.
I agree. Right. And we may have the opportunity, as Frank is here for a couple more days, so I will tip you off if I get Frank to do the round of questions. I'd be interested to see if he got that one too. Exactly. All right, so unfortunately for Fly, that disqualifies him from going 10 for 10, but you can match the 9 for 10 record. You can match the 9 for 10 record, the best effort, by running the table from here on out. Let's see if there's any chance you can do that. Question number 5 in part 2 of Fungo SA. The former Soviet Union was the first to put a satellite in space. The United States was first to put a man on the moon.
Right.
Which space program was first to reach the surface of Mars? Now, I personally really enjoyed this question because of the renewed space race that we apparently have going on, possibly even a renewed race to the moon that is currently going on. Please vote in our polls on both our app and on our homepage, timeandspace.us. Fly again. Soviet Union first to put a satellite up. U.S. first to reach to put a man on the moon. Which space program was first to reach the surface of Mars?
And I'm going to be very, very disappointed in myself if I get this one wrong. I believe it is NASA, the United States, and that would be Viking 1.
That is an excellent effort, especially coming up with Viking. The answer is the Soviet craft Mars 2 reached the surface of Mars first on 27 November 1971.
Well, I'll go shoot myself in the head right now.
I just find it interesting that the Russians beat us there, and, of all the disintegration of that country, the Russian space program is still alive and kicking.
Well, now let's look at who's getting us to the International Space Station now.
Well, there you go. I mean,
Soviet Union.
The
Russians.
That is a major discussion and a future episode unto itself. I love revisiting that. It is not a question that I expect a lot of people to get, but figured I'd try it. Let's shift gears. Again, one of our great knuckleball left turns. Name the country, and there are 2 possible answers here. Name, I guess I should write it as either country, awarded the FIFA World Cup for either 2018 or 2022. Now, I will briefly explain that one of the points of the radio show is that we are not trying to appeal to U.S. fans, and the discussion of soccer would come up as U.S. fans are ignorant to a lot of this stuff. International fans would be able to blurt these answers out immediately.
In a heartbeat.
And on top of that, these 2 picks, especially the second one, were intensely controversial and continue to be news stories for those of us who follow soccer. Can you name either of the countries awarded around maybe Thanksgiving or Christmas last year when they picked them, 2018 or 2022?
And I am extremely sorry to our international listeners out there, but I do not know the answer to this.
Okay. Now,
go Steelers.
I'm not. I am not. You're going to keep going back to that, aren't you? I am going to blurt out
beat up tonight at the restaurant. I really did.
You know, I won't even go back to that.
Any dig that I can get in, I'm getting.
That's right. All right, well, we'll let you vent a little bit on this one. Now, I'm going, as a world traveler, I'm going to blurt this out and tell you what the two answers are. The first one won't surprise you, but I'll be interested to get your reaction to the second one, because you have to think about hosting a World Cup. You're talking about a major event.
A major event,
I mean,
right.
arguably the most popular
Well, when I was in
sporting event.
England, when I lived in England for those 6 years, I mean, that's all that you were inundated with,
Right.
was football.
Exactly.
European football. And I did pay attention to a lot of it then. Now, since I've come back to the United States, I don't pay attention to it that much anymore.
Sure.
But I do know the ramifications of that event. It's like a month-long Super Bowl.
Okay. Very good.
And absolutely.
All right. Well, then check out these answers, just to offer them up. The 2018 World Cup was offered up and given to Russia. Not that huge of a surprise. I can understand that, too.
And the money's there, and the facilities are there, and
very good.
And they are pretty much contenders.
Sure.
In certain.
Yeah, sure.
In certain European leagues.
And especially playing on their home soil, you would think they have a real good chance maybe advancing out of it. That's a really interesting pick. The other one, however, has been a huge controversy. The host of the 2022 World Cup is Qatar.
Okay, now I don't find that very strange, honestly. When I was in Baghdad a few years back, the Iraqis and they played the Asian World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And
there are regional sub-cups.
They went up against Japan, and they went up against Saudi Arabia,
right.
And they won the whole thing.
Yes, that's correct.
And the reason I remember this is because of all the celebratory fire in the air, and there were bullets raining out of the sky. Remember, Newton's law. What must go up has to come down.
That made an impression on you?
Oh, it made an impression on me. Because one of those bullets landed in my trailer that I happened to be staying in, and embedded in the floor in my bathroom.
Wow.
So, yes.
I love it.
Qatar does not surprise me.
Okay.
Or Qatar.
Okay. Qatar, I'm sorry. Yes, that's
that does
correct.
not surprise me.
No offense to our fans in the Middle East.
Because it is very, very popular over there. And
of course,
to hear that country got it does not surprise me at all.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. There are huge allegations of major bribery that went on.
Oh, but I can
3 or 4 judges
completely understand.
Yeah, exactly. But it has remained in the news, and it's to me again. Speaking from a U.S. point of view, international fans, easy for them to blurt that out, kind of a thing. So
sorry, folks.
No, not at all. All right, now we're getting into the ones where I think that there's a really good possibility that Fly would run the table. So we'll just go with the last 4 here, and I'll be really interested to see if you're able to come up with these 4. This one takes a bit of explaining just to make sure that you understand the question. It's a little hard to ask, but once you get the gist of it, it's very easy to understand. I was trying to research other questions to ask, and after researching the Great Wall of China and discovering that in fact, it cannot be seen from space, as most people believe. There was, in fact, a list of buildings that can be seen from space. The question is, what is the largest, asterisk, so I can explain that, what is the largest man-made building on Earth? That title has been given to a specific building based on floor area. So in other words, the amount of area considered floor space in the building makes it the largest building on the planet. It can be seen from space quite easily. What is that building? While Fly thinks of the answer, again, you're listening to timeandspace.us. I'm your host, Mike Smith. We're coming to you from Asuncion, Paraguay. I'm very happy to say this is my first visit to South America. It has been a very enjoyable one. And we're going to be trying to peg some of the other people we've been on this trip with to get them to answer the same round of fungo questions. No one has ever gone 10 for 10 at this point, but Fly, I'm sure that some of the future questions that you're going to help us write are going to either keep that tradition or eventually whoever that person is that we discover that goes 10 for 10 with this tricky little trivia game is going to deserve whatever prize we can put in their lap.
Alien anal probe. the largest buildings as seen from
I swear,
space.
if I get you and our executive chef Mike Fay in the same room, I might as well not even be on the microphone because you two guys are just going to run roughshod with it. Man, I can't wait to see what happens.
I've got one of two answers.
Okay.
And I'm kind of split down the middle.
And because you've already missed some, I'm going to go ahead and just give you the leeway and see what you actually come up with here. If one of these turns out to be the right answer, I will definitely give you credit.
My gut feeling is telling me the Pentagon. But then there's also the manufacturing facility in Washington State for Boeing.
Oh. That's an interesting response. The correct answer is the Pentagon. But the Boeing facility, when was that constructed? That's a new facility?
No.
That's the one they're shutting down.
That's the one they're shutting down.
Oh.
So the Boeing facility in Washington, has been around, when they started the 747s back in the early 70s?
Yeah.
Late 60s,
that's
early
right.
70s?
And that's been in the news because of the controversy of them moving and the people in Washington are all upset about it.
That was the biggest manufacturing facility in the world, and it took up so much space. So saying that,
again,
and maybe it isn't necessarily the building is that big, but maybe the square miles of facility.
Right.
But, okay, I got my first gut reaction was Pentagon. I got it right.
Yes, they define it by floor area, and honestly, I'm not sure what the distinction was. My footnote here.
Have you ever been to the Pentagon? Have you been inside?
Yes, several times.
It's massive.
It is massive, and my footnote here was that it includes 6.5 million square feet of indoor floor space.
Right.
And indoor is the interesting distinction because I've been to, for example, Bristol Motor Speedway.
Right.
You put 200,000 people in that building. I think that's an exaggeration. It might be 160 or 170. At that point, does it really matter?
Well, and that's where you really have to disqualify Boeing then.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've got a really good story for the Pentagon for you.
Okay.
Back probably 15 years ago, I did when they were still doing public tours for the Pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
One of the tour guys had said that when the first Russian delegation actually had came into the Pentagon and was having their first look around, unimpeded, other than the guards walking around, they continuously asked to see the secret entrance down into the secret tunnels of the Pentagon.
Okay.
And the guards were saying, well, we've shown you everything. I don't understand what you're asking for. And they said, well, for many years, just as you have done us in Russia, we have done with you, with our satellites, we have been targeting the Pentagon with all of the surveillance.
Sure.
And there is a secret entrance in the center of the Pentagon, out where the quad angle.
Yeah, sure.
Right in the very center, there's a secret entrance out there.
Right.
And they wanted to go out there and see what that entrance was. They wanted to go down into the subterranean caverns that they thought there was there and see what it was all about.
Okay.
Well, for any of you that have been to the Pentagon, you know in the courtyard in the center of the Pentagon, there is a hot dog stand. So these Russians they thought that they believed that there was a secret entrance out there because they had seen people coming and going.
How about that?
Every single day out of the center of the Pentagon, and they just assumed that it was a secret entrance, and it turned out to be the hot dog stand.
Isn't that funny? I've never heard that before. Yes, and I'll just answer you with a quick Pentagon story of my own. There is a shopping mall on the far side of 395, directly across from the Pentagon, that is called Pentagon City. That's correct. And by the way, if you work there, it's not called Pentagon City. They want you to call it the Fashion Center at Pentagon City. That's correct. So the store that I'm working in, the home office of that store, is based in St. Louis, Missouri. And one day I call up, and I'm trying to give my little weekly report, and the woman on the other end of the phone, who is apparently a new employee and has probably never been outside St. Louis, she says to me, "Which store are you in?" And I said, "I'm in the Pentagon City store." "Pentagon City?" And I said, "Yeah." She says, "Why is it called that?" And I said, because the other side of the highway, there's the Pentagon. She goes, the Pentagon. The real Pentagon? And I said, is there a fake Pentagon? And she said, well, I thought the Pentagon was in D.C. And I said, well, D.C.'s on the other side of the river. It's pretty close, but no, we're in Virginia. And we spent the next 10 minutes just arguing, and she finally just gave up. She didn't know what I was talking about. I don't know where she thought the Pentagon was, but there it is, right across the river. So.
Folks don't understand that D.C. is so close.
Yeah, and Arlington County used to be Washington, D.C. back in the day and all that type of thing.
So it got all split up.
Yeah, that one caught me by surprise.
I travel into work every day, and I go through 2 states and a district in order to get to work.
That's exactly right. There you go. All right, very good. So the answer to that, question number 7, the largest man-made building on Earth is, in fact, the Pentagon, right outside Washington, D.C., across the river. That's right. All right, let's move to question number 8. According to Google, this is Fungo, Essay, Part 2, timeandspace.us. According to Google, English is the most commonly used language on the Internet. What is the second most common language used on the Internet? This is, of course, according to Google.
Just throwing some stuff out there, I would say Chinese, Mandarin, Chinese.
You get full credit. I was about to say you need to specify a little bit more than Chinese because there are a couple of versions of Chinese and the people that speak Mandarin are quite specific, and yes, Google will identify it.
And I would think that the third one would probably be Hindi.
You know, I don't actually know the answer to that, but I'll research it. That's a pretty good guess.
That would be pretty close because everybody's saying now that China and India are the next.
No question about it.
China being the largest and India being a close second.
And we go back without just going back into the UFO thing, but we were talking about it a little bit earlier. The idea in the Wall Street Journal apparently had seized on this just within the past week or 2 weeks that the rise of the Asian powerhouse. Could explain that, and India right there's no question.
I don't know if I agree with that, though.
I understand that, sure.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Sure. But they threw it out there, and you never know. It at least got circulated, and we posted it. Let's move to question 9. We're finishing up here. Fungo Essay. We're in round 2. Which of these 5 religions does not acknowledge Jesus? I will list off the 5. Which of these 5 religions does not acknowledge Jesus? Islam, Buddhism, Scientology, Mormonism, or the Rastafari movement?
I would say Scientology.
You are correct. I was about to repeat the question. I'll do it for anybody who might have missed it. Which of these 5 religions does not acknowledge Jesus? Islam, Buddhism, Scientology, Mormonism, or the Rastafari movement? That is correct. Scientology is the correct answer, and I found it quite striking. I'll give you the explanation real quick. L. Ron Hubbard actually described Jesus as an implant. You know this. You're shaking your head. Yeah. As an implant, and dismisses his existence as fiction. Historical records, such as the trial of Jesus by the Jewish Sanhedrin, King Herod, Pontius Pilate, serve as independent verification of his existence, but for whatever reason, L. Ron Hubbard believed that that was an implant in the memory of those people and that he never actually existed. The correct answer is Scientology. Very good. And we'll wrap it up with question number 10 in round 2. This is one I would imagine you'll get quite easily. Please name the 2 NASA space shuttles that were destroyed in separate accidents in 1986 and 2003.
Challenger and Columbia.
Challenger and Columbia are the correct answers. God bless all those people.
I watched both of them on TV when it happened.
I saw the first one on television. The second one I caught when I got out of bed that morning. And the Space Shuttle program, of course, recently decommissioned. Actually, that last mission, Endeavour, is probably not over yet. There's probably a couple more days left before they come back.
Well, and did Gabby Guilford, did she ever see
her husband? She did. In fact, that was quite interesting. Yes.
I've lost complete touch since I've been out.
That's fine. And just very quickly, what Fly is referencing, of course, is that terrible shooting that occurred in, forgive me if I get this wrong, Arizona,
Phoenix.
Senator? Is there a state senator? Governor?
She was U.S. Senator.
Forgive me for not quite getting that
Congressman.
Right.
She was
U.S. Congressman. That sounds correct. Yeah, Congresswoman. Yes, she was shot in a terrible shooting at one of her public appearances. Her husband is commander, I believe, of the flight of Endeavour on this final mission of the space shuttle. And yes, she did attend and saw the launch. And then she went into surgery, I believe, a day or 2 days after that happened. And he was getting all kinds of updates, both email and direct contact. And then she actually was able to, wake up, if you will, from the surgery and spoke to him very briefly. And I saw a couple of interviews. So she's doing well, thank God. And he's doing well with the mission. And, let's pray for their safe return.
Absolutely.
And the final shuttle mission after all these years. A pretty amazing thing, especially for those of us who follow NASA. And let's pray for their safety. So very good. Not too bad, Fly. I know that some of these questions really do trip people up.
Yeah, the soccer one.
The soccer ones,
European
yes.
football, soccer, whichever you want to
Yes.
subscribe to, really trip me out.
Definitely. And really the one that I would say of these 2 rounds that I would say might be the weakest link, because it's kind of a trick question, and I'm trying to avoid trick questions, is the one about the first space program to reach the surface of Mars. Because really at the time, there were only the 2 space programs. Now, you did guess that it was NASA, but it turned out to be the Soviet Union. We haven't...
Well, you got a 50-50 shot there, honestly.
You do, but I don't identify
during,
that those are really the only 2 active space programs at the time. We're talking 1971.
I really don't think you want to give that away, though.
I suppose so. I mean, maybe somebody would throw out China or, some other place that might have been trying to send something there. And it wasn't a manned mission.
No, and none of them have been manned missions.
Right. But it is interesting to note that Mars 2 did reach the surface. The other thing that's an interesting footnote, actually I almost hesitate to go into this, but was the follow-up Soviet missions of Phobos 1 and Phobos 2, which for those of us who follow the alien stuff in a more hardcore fashion, I don't know if you're aware of this. This is another one of these things. I threw out something earlier I was going to go back to. If I can think of it in a second, I'll bring it up again. But the Phobos 2 mission is extremely famous because the satellite was orbiting Mars. It had just gotten into orbit, made a couple of passes around. Phobos, of course, the name of one of the 2 moons that orbit Mars. And it... Not only did it disappear, but only moments before it disappeared, it was shooting images of Mars, and there is a completely inexplicable but somewhat definitive shadow that appears on the surface of Mars right before this disappearance that is completely just a mystery, and nobody knows why that satellite suddenly disappeared. And take your pick, you know what I mean?
And Mike, I really hate to do this to you, but I'm sure your listeners will really enjoy this. Transformers more than meets the eye.
There are probably people out there who are going, right, I know exactly what that guy's talking about. Yeah,
the Decepticons, I'm telling you folks, they're out there.
Decepticons. My goodness. And there's another one of those coming out.
I'm really glad that they kicked Megan Fox to the curb on this next one. I really am.
Oh, come on now. I mean, is she really...
Have you not seen that new girl?
Is she really...
Good Lord.
Actually, we were watching the trailers there the other day.
Lord, thank you, Jesus.
That and I must admit, I watched a couple of clips, and I turned to the gentleman that was playing the clip and said, "Who's that?" And he babbled something about Victoria's Secret, so she's obviously something to look at.
She's a Victoria's Secret model.
I see.
She doesn't have a lot of acting experience.
Very good.
I apologize. I do not recall her name.
I don't either.
I do recall her Victoria's Secret ads. I really do. The times that I've held that magazine up with one hand.
Nice. All right.
And yes, she is. I really truly hope that she can act.
All right. So we're going to finish up another segment here. See how quickly this stuff goes by. You see how long we've been recording? I mean, it's really incredible how these segments pull together and you just sort of rock through them. And we've had a lot of fun with this. We want to thank Fly for joining us and playing 2 rounds of Fungo. Again, his official scores will go with 7 of 10 on round 1 and 7 of 10 on round 2. Pretty consistent. You got to give him that. I wouldn't want him to be unloading a clip of 10 bullets at me because 7 of them probably would have struck. Either way, I do want to do one quick follow-up question because I was a little surprised at a comment that you made earlier in the interview with Frank. And I'll throw this out for just 2 or 3 more minutes of quick chat. You said that you had never actually heard of something called the Planet X theory.
No, I haven't.
And that one was a new one to you.
Yep.
I'm just wondering what your sort of initial reaction was as you were listening to me run this off. And offline, when we, chat later, I'd be willing to offer up some of the really bizarre and interesting reports and support for that.
In total honesty, I don't know anything about it. I've never heard of that theory before. As Mike will allude to in prior to this interview and maybe later interviews, I really don't keep up with a lot of this type of stuff.
Yeah, you're not the UFO buff or any of that sort of stuff.
I'm just an ordinary common guy that just really likes to take the mick out of everybody.
Here,
but no, that's I'm very open-minded. I'm willing to listen to all different types of opinions, and I would like to hear more about that.
That one was a bit out of left field. My understanding.
I'd never heard of it.
Just very quickly, my understanding and one of the more intriguing pieces of this, and I'll try not to go conspiracy theory on you, because the first half of this is easily supported. Look at the Washington Post. I mean, I can dig up the articles and all that. The second half of this gets conspiracy theory, and I don't want to step off that cliff, but there is a scientist, I'll just say generically, named Robert Harrington, who worked at the U.S. Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C., and he apparently was following up on a lot of these leads. And honestly, from what I had read, some of the stuff that Frank was alluding to, the Eric von Daniken books, other sources that I could quote. So he decided on his own, for the most part, to go looking and doing some of the math and trying to figure out. And the math is based on the idea that the solar system, very quickly in summary, you got the sun and many of the planets that are circulating on a plane. But when you get to the outer planets, Neptune, Pluto, they're on some sort of angled plane for some reason.
Right.
And there's a lot of math that doesn't agree with that. There's got to be a reason for it. And there's two sort of schools of thought here. One is that it has to be some other member of the solar system, and therefore it's having an effect on this, which scientifically, that's pretty, that makes sense. You could just sort of get into the details of it if you wanted to go that route. The other, as I had said earlier, was the ancient texts, Sumerian in particular, that specifically state there's another planet that comes back through the solar system that's on a larger orbit, and it's had an effect. This is where I was going with Frank. Not only has it had an effect and perturbed the orbits of those outer planets, actually affected them as it passed back through the solar system. At one point, in specific Sumerian records, it smashed through and destroyed one of the planets in the solar system, and there's your asteroid belt.
Creating the
There you go.
Van Buren?
Oh gosh, now I'm going to feel stupid. Van Kuiper, I think it is. Van Kuiper.
There was a
Kuyper.
There was a Van Buren belt.
All right, we'll
look
somebody's
that one up.
Right. Yeah, you got to look that one up to get it exactly right. Either way, we know there's an asteroid belt. And the only thing that really jumped out at me, and it's not the asteroid belt was between Mars and Earth or any of those technicalities. You got to give me a few points for calling them on it.
Oh yeah,
that was that. Yeah, that's the way it is. But the fact of the matter is that it apparently passed right through that specific point, smashed that planet, and I was really surprised at his Battlestar Galactica interpretation of that some Death Star had drifted in here and blown that to pieces. Again, I'm sure that there are people out there who are going to be hearing this going, wait a minute, that's true, man. The moon is like a Death Star that's been parked in orbit of Earth. And the conspiracy theories, you go right off the cliff. The other part of the Robert Harrington story was that Harrington actually released this information, supported it, tried to publicize it, got into the Washington Post and other mainstream media, and then sure enough, like a year later, mysterious death, and the guy disappears. Which is also documented fact.
Right.
If you want to go off the conspiracy theory cliff, have a good time, but, there are some facts that you just have to look at it, and that's the timeline. The guy discovers it, guy releases it, guy dies. Who knows what's going on? The information I had dug up the other night actually named two other scientists that I'd never heard of before who independently believe that it's a brown dwarf star and all that. It should be, possibly a NASA cover story, but I gotta lean a little bit towards those ancient texts, and I tend to dismiss in some cases this idea that, well, they didn't know how to explain it. Well, they were pretty specific. I mean, they left star maps, and a lot of people are familiar with everything from the Mayans to the Arabs to whatever other ancient civilizations that had this amazing astrological knowledge.
They seem to have better knowledge than what we do now.
Exactly. So even here's
better
Fly.
Understanding of it.
Here's Fly, a guy that doesn't even follow this stuff, but I mean, that's the almost obvious interpretation of what's going on there. So yeah, I was just not surprised that you had or hadn't heard of it before, but I was just wondering if I brought it up again, what your reaction to it might be. So really enjoy that stuff. Anyway, thanks again for joining us. We'll wrap up this other hour of the show. You're listening to Time and Space. I'm your host, Mike Smith. This is 22nd Century Radio, and we're going to come back with more variations on Fungo, some other people playing it. From Asuncion, Paraguay, please enjoy the show and join us again. Visit the homepage, go to Facebook, all that other stuff. Plug. And we'll be back in just a little bit. Thank you.
Hasta luego. How about them apples?
You're listening to the Mike Smith Show.
The following is a presentation of Unidentified Entertainment and 22nd Century Radio. Manassas, Fairfax, Washington, D.C.
Exopolitics and ufology, religion and science, time and space.